Katie. How's your summer
Great
going?
to see Great to see you. I am, at my summer's great. It's gone too quickly, and I'm sorry to see it go because it's my favorite time of year, but the older you get, the faster it goes by, and by the way, Heather, did you get a new background?
There's such a long story here. Yes, I did.
I
Hey,
like it.
did you get to play with some grandchildren this summer?
I did. I have one grandson who's 16 months old. His name is Jay, after Ellie's dad and my late husband, and he is adorable, and it's so fun to, have the privilege of once again seeing the world through the eyes of a child. But I think the most exciting thing is to watch your child become an incredible parent. And that's given me a tremendous amount of joy and made me feel like maybe I did something right when it came to raising my kids.
Oh, that's so nice. And the baby's just a little bit away from being able to be read to. And as my mother always said, there's nothing in the world more wonderful than reading to a child.
Well, Heather, I have to tell you, they've been reading to him ever since he was like 3 months old. So he loves books and he loves pointing at pictures. And, it's such an important time in the development and brain development when you're so small. They talk to him, they read to him. And, it makes me think about how important that is and how children who don't have that constant communication often left behind because they don't develop vocabulary. And that's why it's so important to talk to a child and read to a child and give people who are less fortunate kind of uh, help in communicating with their children so their kids can keep up. Music is also important. I totally agree. I tell Ellie to keep playing music, and I play the piano for Jay, which is really fun too. So
Oh, that's great.
anyway, enough
That's great.
about me and my grandson. I am so sorry to probably bore everyone. But Heather, my God, the news. How do you keep up with it all, Heather? And how has your summer been, by the way?
Why, is there something going on?
Nothing at all.
So yeah, there's so much coming at us all the time that it's very hard for anyone to keep up, even me, and I look at it constantly. And I think it's really important for people to be able to take a step back occasionally and just say, I don't have to deal with this entire fire hose of information because it is out there in part to knock me off balance. That's the idea of what it's called political technology, where the proponent of it, rather than limiting the amount of information that somebody can get the way that the former Soviet republics used to do, they are turning it around and giving people a fire hose of information so you get overwhelmed and you tune out for that reason. So that's what's happening to us right now. As
Yeah,
for
Heather, I'm curious, is that a relatively new phenomenon? This sort of, I know Steve Bannon talks about flooding the zone, but is this something new that we've seen in sort of from government officials? And is there ever been anything like it in any other countries?
So it's so cool that you asked that because we associate the idea of political technology or virtual politics with Russian thinkers after the 1990s when Vladimir Putin was beginning to consolidate power because they had a real problem that they had to face. That is, they couldn't simply feed people propaganda the way they had been accustomed to it because people in those former Soviet republics would rise up against that. So rather than trying to do that, what they did is they developed this idea of virtual politics or political technology where they would simply flood the zone. There were actually five pieces to it, and one of them was flooding the zone. And the reason I say it's so interesting that you say that is because it has now come to the United States, of course. But I wonder personally, from my reading of really the period in America from Nixon onward, if the roots of political technology or virtual politics aren't in the United States. That is, if you look all the way back to the Nixon administration in the 1970s, You saw him out there with his dirty tricksters who were trying to put op-eds in newspapers and to gaslight people and to run dirty tricks on their opponents. And that, of course, turns into the coup in South America in 1973 when they do something very similar. So we tend as political theorists to associate it with Russia, but when I look at it, I think about the fact that these tricks really seem to me to have started with Nixon. And of course, one of the proponents of those tricks in Ukraine was Paul Manafort, who was who worked in Nixon's campaign, and of course
Right.
Roger Stone, who also worked in Nixon's campaign. So the official answer is yes, this is associated with Russia. The unofficial answer is, I wonder where those ideas in Russia came from.
就连科学家都不敢公布的真相，因为太过于离奇，被有心人故意隐瞒。在清朝末年，安徽黄